One Space Watch, NASA's gearing up to get American astronauts back on the moon in the next 5 years. The new mission is called Artemis. It's named after the Greek goddess and the twin sister of Apollo. The name's inspiration comes from NASA's goal to land the first woman on the moon by 2024. In order to meet this deadline, the Trump administration wants Congress to approve an additional $1.6 billion for the agency. That's on top of the $21 billion already budgeted for next year. Well, NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine is tasked with pulling off this mission, which is slated to happen 4 years earlier than previously planned. He spoke about why landing the first woman on the moon is so significant.
I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I want her to be able to see herself in the same way that our current very diverse astronaut corps sees itself. And if we look at the history of moon landings, it was test pilots from the 1960s and 1970s, fighter pilots, and there were no opportunities for women back then. This program is going to enable a new generation of young girls like my daughter to see themselves in a way that maybe they wouldn't otherwise see themselves.
CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood joins us now from Merritt Island, Florida. So, Bill, pretty ambitious timeline. Do you think NASA can make it?
Well, it's an extremely ambitious timeline, and if you think about it, the $1.6 billion the president is requesting, Jim Bridenstine called that a down payment. There will be more money needed next year and more than that the year after to be able to get footprints on the moon, which is the goal here by 2024. I think technically they can do it, but it'll require continuous support from Congress. You can't have any government shutdowns and stop funding in a program like this. It's a very aggressive schedule. So technically, yes, I think they can do it. Politically, we'll have to wait and see.
You know, some people may have forgotten that Bridenstine actually used to be a congressman in Oklahoma before becoming the head of NASA. Do you think that congressional experience might help him to get the approval for the additional $1.6 billion in the budget? And is the space agency confident that his experience on Capitol Hill will get that funding?
Well, certainly he's a master of that. He's going out of his way and doing everything he can to publicize this program, to sell it to Congress, if you will. And certainly his connections there can't hurt. He's a very enthusiastic supporter of all this. And I think lots of people at NASA are. You know, it's been, I think, frustrating for the agency over the past few decades. They've wanted to get presidential support to set a new goal, like the moon, like on to Mars. And the Trump administration has provided that. But of course, president can suggest or recommend or request additional funds. It's up to Congress to do it. And you put your finger on it. They've got to go along. Right now, I think there's some fairly good support for this moon initiative, but whether that's going to play out over the long term, that's the big question. It's not next year that counts. It's the year after and the year after that. But the $1.6 billion definitely kickstarts this program and starts them down that road. And for that, I think NASA is very grateful.
And we're living in an era where it's not just private government, not just governments doing this. We got Jeff Bezos' aerospace company Blue Origin announced its plan to build a lunar lander capable of carrying astronauts to the moon. What role do you think Blue Origin and other private companies like SpaceX will play as everyone is trying to launch these missions to the moon?
Well, it's too soon to say, but one thing that would be encouraging to the Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos is out there, this new moon plan absolutely requires commercial sector involvement. In fact, the lander, and that's probably the most critical piece in this program. That's the spacecraft that will carry astronauts from an orbiting space station down to the surface of the moon and back. That's probably going to be commercially procured. It might be structured sort of like NASA right now uses SpaceX and Boeing in the commercial crew program that we've talked a lot about in the past. So I think commercial involvement is absolutely going to happen. Which company emerges and wins a contract, we have to wait and see. But NASA says they hope to award contracts for that lander in the October timeframe. So this is a very swift schedule, and we're going to find the answer to that pretty soon.
Bill Harwood, thanks for the update, Bill.